All right, y'all. Episode 5 of Podheads. What is good? It's your boy DJ Easy Zeke. Got an intro wrote out for this one. All right, she's a creator. She's had her own brand. She's a passionate screen printer, someone who is a visionary and inspiration to others. Future New Yorker. I got Deandrea in the building. We'll do the knuckle touch. So we kind of already sort of had this conversation before. Shout out to Tom and Sid. I'm still in the beginning stages of this, still learning. So I may or may not have messed up the audio for that episode we just recorded a few days ago. But we're getting it all redone now. So sorry to Sydney. Appreciate you for coming back on.
Of course.
And shout out to Tom for lending us the video camera and everything. So without further ado, let's get into it. Sydney, you had your own brand and everything, but we're gonna start before that. I knew a little bit about you in high school. Where'd you go to high school at?
I went to East Forsyth High School in Kernersville.
Oh, dope. Okay, what year did you end up graduating?
2017. I was done in high school.
And did you do any sports or anything in high school?
Yeah, I was a softball player.
Yeah?
Yep.
Did you do that all throughout high school?
Yeah.
Were you still in the creative process at that point too? As far as doing art or anything like that, or?
Kind of. I actually took apparel and textile courses all throughout East Forsyth. And so it's like the infancy of my discovery of that I was into stuff like that, but there was the entrepreneurial in me had not come out in high school yet, no.
So did you work with because we're in her dad's shop, by the way, shout out to Todd, but he was doing that throughout high school too. Did you do anything with him throughout that time?
So when I was in high school, he was just a carpenter, and he was the superintendent for a large-scale construction company. So I had grown up, no matter where we lived, whether it was the garage or an external garage, I was always around workshops and woodworking tools and stuff like that. From the time I was born. But no, I don't know how much of an interest I had really showed in that in my earlier years.
Until later on.
Yeah.
So you end up going to ECU post high school. Shout out to the Pirates. That's where me and Sid actually became really cool friends, and we worked at Mello together, hung out a decent amount, had some mutuals. But so going into college, obviously it's a completely different scene than high school. You weren't playing softball anymore, correct?
No.
So what were you trying to do now? Were you just trying to focus on school, work, or what?
I started out going to college thinking that I wanted to be a nurse. After I graduated high school, I had done all my CNA stuff and did my internship at the nursing homes and was really set on I wanted to go to nursing school at East Carolina. That's why I went there, because they have a really good nursing program. And so I started all my prereqs for that and got halfway through freshman year, and I was like, no, it's not it. I don't know what it is, but it's not that. Yeah.
And the prerequisites for anyone who didn't go to college is your biology, all your basic maths and everything like
Which
that.
I think no matter what you were declaring as a major, a lot of the prereqs were the same, but I was taking some entry-level chemistry and biology classes that I probably would not have been had I not tried to pursue nursing. And it honestly could have just been that those kicked my ass, and I was like, if this is already this hard at the starting point, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but it's probably not that.
And not to mention at ECU, it's just nursing is such a competitive field.
It's very competitive, yeah.
So you decided I'm done with school, or you were just going to try to kind of shift your focus on the creative, or what?
Okay, so all of that kind of started. So I made it through first semester of my freshman year at East Carolina, was in the dorms, and I got violently homesick, which I did not think was going to happen. So that was kind of a shock to me. So I ended up transferring home to UNC Greensboro second semester of my freshman year. Absolutely hated it. I was like, I don't know why I thought that this was going to be better, but I was living at home and commuting, and I was just miserable. I was working. I had a couple good friends at the time, but that was the beginning of me discovering that there was something else that I probably could or should be doing. And so after second semester freshman year at UNCG, I was like, you know what, I don't know what it is, but it's not this, so I'm going to go back to Greenville and not go for nursing, but I'm going to go back and move back out, whatever I have to do, and finish that up, because that just was the next best thing that made sense at the time. And that was about the time that I met you. That was the beginning of my sophomore year. That was when I started waiting tables at Mello to pay my rent. So
shout out Mello.
Shout out Mello. But the time frame when all of it got started was I went through that whole year waiting tables at Mello, met all of our mutuals, that kind of time frame. And then that summer I moved home. I did not stay not moved home. I came home just for the summer while we weren't in classes before my junior year started.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the summer that I came here, started hanging out with my dad a lot more, and that was when the first skateboard ring was born.
And that is Gary Ware, but it wasn't Gary Ware at first. It was just a concept of the ring.
Right. No, there was no brand attached to it yet. So that same summer, my dad, he's a very crafty man. So for those who don't know, skateboard wood is already colored. In the inside, they're called veneers. And when my dad discovered that, he was like, yo, like if we, rip this apart, like some good colorful wood in there and it's durable, because if you think about it, kids are skating it and beating it all to hell, like it's got to be strong. And so he started making furniture out of recycled skateboards and that summer. And there was always these colorful, cool scraps of wood just laying all around here. And
would that be like the corners that y'all cut out from that you're using?
So he was able to use all of it. Well, okay, mainly like between the two truck holes where you have your flat part is the wood that he was after.
For the rings?
No, for his furniture.
Oh, okay.
So I would see the nose and tails of all of the boards get left around here. And it was like, well, he can't use it, so what do you do with it? He's like, you got to be able to do something with it. And so he taught me a couple things, and you have a drill press that has the cylinder little bit on it, and it didn't take us long before it was like we punched our first ring, and sanded it, made it look cool, and I just wore it and whatever, and so that.
Did you think at that first moment that you were creating something that could potentially turn into a brand itself, or were you just kind of doing it for yourself at that time?
Kind of, only because that's how my dad operates. He, like, as soon as we popped out the first one, he was like, yo, like that's a fucking product right there. Yeah, so he put it in my head a lot.
Shout out to Todd, man. That sounds like a supportive dude.
Yeah, no, definitely. So okay, anyways, so I think at that point I was still at Mello a little bit. And you remember Glenn that we used to wait tables with?
Shout out Glenn.
Glenn was the first person, I think, if I remember correctly, that saw that ring on my finger, or maybe I even showed him. And he was like, yo, like, make me one. I would wear that. And I was like, what, really? And that was the first, like, external person that wasn't, like, a family member or someone that was close in my life, like, just, like, a extra factor that was, like, thought that what I was doing was cool. And so that was, like, the first initial, like, okay, like maybe there's something to this.
You got a little light bulb.
Yeah.
When you did, so you said that he just noticed, or did you show it to him? Because if you showed it to him, did you slam it on the like drink counter and you're like, so?
I honestly can't. I might have showed him, or maybe he noticed. I'm not sure. Glenn was like really into music and stuff, so Glenn was who trained me for that job, so he was like my first buddy at that job, and we would talk about music and would fuck off in the back or whatever. But so I can't remember if you showed him and was like, hey, look at this, or if he saw it. But that was like my first like conversation about like, hey, here's this thing that I've done. Like, yeah.
How much time did it take to make that first piece?
Probably the first one longer than the rest, but not long. You just like clamp it in a drill press, and you like weed out the smaller part, like the inside of it first, and then take a bigger bit that like does like the outside of the ring, and then from then it's just sanding and sizing it and making it look all pretty. So I don't know, if you're like starting and not stopping, maybe
did you already have the
minutes.
like 20 minutes? That's not that long.
But that's like starting and stop, like starting and not stopping, like working all the way through. Like,
and you said that first one took the longest, probably?
Yeah, probably, because we were just trying to figure out, because like the different bits that would make like your ring size, like they're not made for ring sizing, so it was like a lot of trial and error of figuring out like, okay, so if this punches essentially a size 5, but there's nothing that punches a size 6 ring, how are we gonna like manually sand this to make it fit other people's ring finger,
Yeah.
their ring size. So it was just like trial and error for that type of stuff.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is how'd you come up with like the initial size, or did you just punch it and it fit?
So there's like not a device, it's an object called a ring mandrel that it's like a cylinder shape and it gets bigger as you go down, and like you can slide your rings on there and it'll tell you what size it is. So I figured out at that point, okay, so this bit punches that size and this bit punches that size. So you always got to start smaller because you obviously can't make something big and then make it go smaller. So I would just always start small and then take sandpaper and manually sand them out for them to fit the size. Yeah.
That's some hard work, probably.
Yeah,
I mean, the sandpaper part especially.
Yeah, it was hard on my fingers for sure.
Dang, you really getting the elbow grease in there.
Right.
So Glenn was the initial, like, I guess not supporter, but the guy who gave you the light bulb that was like, man, I could probably make these and sell them.
Yeah.
So how long after that do you think before you sold your first piece or started to create something that people could buy?
Probably not long, because a couple months maybe, and I say that only because I was thankful for my job at Mellow Mushroom because I met a lot of great people through it, but waiting tables was not anything I wanted to continue to do any longer than I had to if you gave me the option. So there was probably a little fire under my ass, like, okay, so if you do this and you figure it out, you might not have to wait tables anymore and you could maybe live off of this. So probably a couple months, yeah, because I probably came home and I was like, Dad, here's the thing, you're right, it's a product, like, let's teach me what I need to know to figure out how to mass produce this.
So you had gone home in between school semesters 1 year, started and made one ring with your dad, went back to school. At work, Glenn told you the ring was cool, and then when you were starting to make these other ones, did you still have to go back home, or were you kind of getting your own? You were.
Yep. So and I liked being here anyways, and Greenville's only 3 hours from here. So on the weekends I would come back and me and Dad would fuck around in here and be like, okay, well, we did this, how do we do that?
Yeah.
And after a summer of trial and error, I had perfected how to make a ring. I had perfected how to make a bangle bracelet out of skateboards, hoop earrings, and I think that was it. I think those are my original 3 products, was the ring, the bangle, and the hoop.
Yeah. And you started selling them just by word of mouth, or were you in the process of a website at that point, or how were you going about marketing?
First by word of mouth. I would say I probably had my friends at the time probably posting them and being like, oh my God, look at this. They were probably wearing them, whether they liked it or just were supporting me, I don't know. But the marketing probably started right when I got back to school that year, I would say. On my personal Instagram account, I posted on my story. I made an Instagram page for it, came up with the Gary Wear, that's what I was going to call it, and posted on my story like, hey, I'm starting this page. On this page is going to be the infancy of a brand, essentially. It's going to be everything you can imagine about recycled skateboard rings and jewelry. There's going to be different colorways, different sizes, girls, guys, whatever, and if this is anything that interests you at all, go follow it. And I racked up like several story posts of like samples of the shit that I could do, and just tried to like gradually start sending traffic that way to that website, to that page.
When did you initially come up with that Gary name?
There was oh my God, I came up with so many stupid names.
Yeah, that's what I should have asked. Was there any names before Gary? Because now it's Vicious Gary, if I'm not mistaken.
It underwent a little rebrand. No, yeah, there was a lot of other stupid names. I probably couldn't tell you any of them now. It was a long time ago at this point. Gary came from this very odd story of my dad and I. The summer before all of this is happening, we had a very abrupt and strange interaction with this man in the mountains on family vacation, and he got into a car accident right in front of us, like right before we came down the road, and he was fine, but we pulled up on him, so we were the ones that were there, like, are you okay, like whatever, and ended up driving him back to his house, to his wife, to regroup because he had wrecked his car. But he had this like cute little janitor, old man had this cute little janitor outfit on, and he never told us his name. I just remember seeing that his his little tag said Gary on it.
That's so dope.
And I just never forgot that, and I don't know anyone personally named Gary, like nobody. So that,
I don't know if I've ever met a Gary either.
Yeah, that, and then just the wear, WEAR, came from like you're gonna wear it, Gary Wear. So that was the original brand concept for that.
It's so catchy too, like Gary Wear goes to when you first like set it together, or was it just Gary, or was it Gary Wear?
It was Gary Wear.
So when you first heard it like together, you're like, ooh, that's
no, it worked, yeah.
That's so dope. That's such a great moment too, when you do have like a name that you come up with from a story that's just like, it's like, for me, I thought Gary came from SpongeBob, like I mean, I love SpongeBob. I don't know anybody from our generation who doesn't, but
yeah,
I really thought that's where it came from. So you had the website now that you were, or the Instagram that you were working on, and putting some stories out of like rings and earrings and stuff like that. Did you say you had necklaces too?
Nope. The original 3 products were ring, bangle, bracelet.
Bracelet, that's right,
and then
bracelet.
Hoop earrings.
Hoop earrings. I ended up having a ring at one point, but so when did you initially start going to like clothing, or is that jumping too far ahead?
No, it's not jumping too far ahead, but so like the next step was the website.
The website, okay, yeah. So how far after the Instagram did you create the website?
So this was like kind of when I realized that there was like a little bit of entrepreneurial to me, because it wasn't right away. It was like I made people wait to buy it for like a while.
Yeah.
Like there was like an intense buildup of.
They had that anticipation.
Yeah, and I ended up graduating with an entrepreneurship degree. Makes sense now, but I didn't have any of that knowledge then, which is just interesting, I guess. But no, there was like several months of just like teasers of like, I'm in the shop, I'm making this, I'm doing this, look how great this looks, and you couldn't buy it for a while. And so
people want what they can't have, man.
I kind of set myself up to give myself no choice. Like when I started that Instagram page, I didn't know how to build a website.
Yeah.
And I knew you could pay a lot of money to have somebody do it for you, but I was broke as shit. That wasn't gonna happen. I knew I was gonna have to figure it out. But I made people wait, and there was a lot of anticipation, like, when can we buy these? How can we buy these? So I was like, well, now I have, at this point, maybe 200-300 people following that are waiting to see what this is all about. So now you got to give them a deadline and a date where they can get this.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what it was sometime in the summer. I set a hard date, deadline, time even, of like Eastern time, this day, whatever. Like, this is when they drop officially. And I got a Squarespace account and bought a domain, and the Gary Wear wasn't taken, so I was like, okay, that's a good direction, and figured it out and put them all on there and connected your Stripe and your PayPal and all that stuff, and I just fucking had no idea what I was doing. But next thing I knew, I was taking people's money on the internet for this thing. It was like
taking people's money.
It's crazy. It's like insane imposter syndrome. I was like, at the time I was 19 years old probably, and I'm like, yeah, it was intense for a while for me, but I kept up with it somehow.
So the first 3 products were the ring, bracelet, and the hoop earrings.
Yep.
Those are the 3 that were on the website?
Yes.
Did you sell anything before the website? Like, just like someone come up and asking you, and then you made a couple, and then you decided to do the Instagram and the website, or?
I don't think I actually sold any until that website. Like, I gave them out to anyone who gave a shit about them left and right.
Oh,
like,
you were just giving out before that?
Yeah, I'm like, you want this, you can have it. I can make another one. I think whoever was the first person that bought a ring from the .com was the first time I sold one, like, officially. I like took money
so
for
dope.
one. Yeah.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
How exciting was that? Did you have like a little party or anything for the like drop date or whatever?
No, it was just me and my dad down here, and it was like we anticipated it all day. I like checked a million times to make sure that everything was working right on the website, and I think it still exists. He has a video though of the moment down to the second when that website opened, of like I'm sitting probably like right here with my laptop, and there's like a feature where you go from like hidden or publish your page, and he has a video of like the moment I hit publish for the first time. And
so dope.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was cool.
How good of a feeling to know that you probably put in this is 2 years or about a year or so in the making?
Yeah.
Leading up to that?
Probably a year in the making, but a whole entire summer of like really figuring out what the hell I'm doing with all of this.
It's gotta be a good feeling though.
Yeah, and
how did you think in your eyes it was a successful launch for like the first
Yeah. So,
I'm gonna go ahead and say it was a wave at ECU. I know it was successful, but artists have their own idea of what success means to them. So in your eyes, did you think?
yeah, no, I mean, like, my dad prepared me so much for it too. He was like, even if you sell one or even if you sell none, that doesn't mean you're supposed to stop or do anything differently than what you're doing right now. Like, that stuff comes with, it takes time. So
Yeah.
don't get discouraged no matter what the turnout is. But I think I put turn my notifications off, because just from someone that's feeling that vulnerable of like putting something out there, I think I was a little bit concerned of what the turnout would be. So I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, I turned my notifications off on my phone and just like let it chill. And that night I remember like so clearly, I was with my friend Carly, and I don't know if we were out to eat or what, but I ended up pulling up my Squarespace account and like looking at all of like the pending orders, and then looked at my PayPal, and there was like $500 or $600 in there. And like $500 or $600, like, okay, it's not like it's not a lot, but
For a college kid,
but for somebody that just made that in a couple hours,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, all right, this is cool.
This
like
can be a thing.
This could be something
Yeah.
like that, Yeah.
God, that's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. So, wait, so I did like something through like Spring Tea one time, and you would have to like transfer from that account, like whatever website you were selling off, to your PayPal, but yours was just going straight to your PayPal?
Yeah, so the two payment options I had, Stripe, which is like where you can enter your card information and it takes it straight from their accounts and gives it to me, or PayPal. Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
Dope. Go ahead and cut. We're going to take a short break, folks. Be right back. Word from our sponsors. All right. Had a short break, but we're back. We left off where Sydney had dropped her first website drop with the ring, the bracelet, and the hoop earring. Were you making those to order as people ordered them, or did you make a certain number of them and then put them out on the website? So like once everyone ordered that size or whatever it was done.
Yeah, so when I first started, it was made to order. There was like some extra inventory laying around here just from the trial and error of what we had done, but the products that were on the website when I first started I didn't make anything until you ordered it, and that went on for a while, but that became really stressful, especially when I got back in school, or like after summer or whatever was over and I was busy with classes and going out or whatever. Like, the whole idea of having someone's money before the thing that they paid for actually exists, that was a lot of stress.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Especially because I was just busy and fucking off in college and stuff. So that was like, I realized really fast that was too much responsibility, and it made me nervous because I'm like, what if something breaks, or I don't have it, or that skateboard, that nose or tail is because they can get like dry rotted and gross and stuff. I'm like, what if what I thought I was going to use doesn't work? And I mean, I guess you could always refund people's money, but I didn't want to have to do all that. So that only went on for a little bit, and then it was like I kind of got a grasp for how many people, like the demand of it, and then I would make everything beforehand, and it would already exist, and then I would have an inventory count put in there, and then so you could buy what was made, and then after that it was sold out, it was done, website closed, on to the next thing.
So it was like, what did you call them? Like Bates, he called his for his brand, he called his seasons when he would drop certain ones. Did you have like a name for them? Was it like season 1, season 2, or did you have like?
It would just be new drops.
New drops.
And that was another thing too, that when you first start, it worked really well from like a marketing and branding and like business concept. Like, it was like I did it always by a build up. Like, I don't know how I knew how to do that, but it just worked. It was like, okay, July 15th, 2 p.m., the website opens. There's going to be this many, and then once they're gone, that's it. And it gave anyone that gave any sort of a shit about the rings or anything, it gave them like a little like, okay, I got to get on this or I'm not going to get it. And so
Hop on that wave.
And so that was the business idea for a while, and it worked.
So, do you think, like, going back, you would have done any of that different, or no? You were, even though it was the first time you did it, you were actually pretty satisfied with how it went out because you had, an idea of people were going to cop. You already had the support from like your dad. Glenn was telling you he was going to buy, and like the marketing seemed like it was going well. So you feel like that was actually like, it worked out well, huh?
It did work out well. So there was a giant turning point for Gary. My junior year, I had four 4 girls that we lived in a college house at East Carolina, and there was an extra 5th bedroom that they allowed me to turn into like my workshop. And so I didn't have to commute home to like make stuff in bulk and bring it back. I had my sander and my drill press and a table, and everything I needed to make that jewelry was in that room. And so when that happened, it was catching on. It was catching on well. It wasn't a fucking $1 million company by any means, but it was paying my bills, and people cared about it. And
I'm telling you though, like at ECU, I couldn't like scroll through my timeline without seeing somebody like, I got this new Gary Ware ring and stuff like that. So I'm telling y'all, it's a wave.
People were really supportive about it. And so the turning point I'm talking about was, there's this girl named Madison Bailey who I went to elementary, middle, and I think she ended up going maybe some of high school. She might have done homeschooling because her career took off. But she's the girl from the Outer Banks, Kiara. We were friends, and sometime that year, she was like very supportive of like people from the 336 that were trying to do stuff. And she was like, send me a package, I'll promote it. And I was like, fuck yes. So I sent her a bunch of stuff, and she shouted it out all on her Instagram, and it sold my whole entire website out like fast.
I think it was in an article or something too. I remember reading about it.
She did some articles. She was really good to me. And
shout out Madison. And you kind of just name dropped Outer Banks like that wasn't, if it's not the biggest show right now, it definitely was when it first came out. Like,
it's huge now. And I mean, she shouted it out as like, it was like weeks after the first season had came out, so like people, like whatever she said, people were like, I mean, they're still probably like that now, but they were like, oh my god. So I got like this huge burst of following, and everyone was spamming it, and everyone wanted it, and I couldn't keep up. Well, it sold out, and I got all of those orders out, but beyond that, I couldn't keep up. And
was this for the second drop?
I don't know what drop we're on, but I just like the time frame is like the turning point was it really caught on at that point, obviously, because she helped me out. But what started this whole trail of thought was when you said, is there anything you regret? And I don't know if it's a regret, but the only thing that I probably could have done differently is cared more about it, because after I got all of that traction from her and attention and everything, like, it wasn't that I couldn't keep up with it. I was a college kid. I was partying. I was barely keeping up with my classes. I was probably dating this person and that person, and going out and doing this, and gotta go to that party, and I gotta be at the library at 8 a.m. or whatever. And so there was a large dry period where it didn't fall off, but
did it kind of feel more like a job to you at that point? The more it caught on, it started to feel like, dang, I actually got to put in work to uphold this name and brand.
So if I could go back, what I would have done differently is I would have kept either like a Mellow Mushroom waiting table job or something else, and then worked on Gary on the side, because as soon as I realized I could make decent money from it, I made it my whole career. And the only reason that it didn't work great for me in that moment was because it was like, rent's due, I gotta put out some rings. And so in that sense, it did kind of become a job, and I had all of the tools and resources in that house that I needed to keep it going, but just the atmosphere that I was in East Carolina was just an interesting time.
Distracting.
It was. I wasn't dialed in on it the way that I could have been, and if I had been, who knows what it would be now. But everything happens for a reason. I didn't want to make rings forever anyways. The original business plan was to start the rings because it was something I could do. The what's the word I'm looking
brand?
for? Because I had so many resources to the jewelry and my dad's scraps, I wasn't having to pour in much money at all to get. It was a lot of profit I was getting off of it because I had everything here I needed to do it. I wasn't having to spend a lot of money on materials or whatever. And so I totally just lost my train of thought.
It's all good. You said you were using the resources you had because you obviously had them, and we were talking. What were we talking about?
So why did I bring that up?
We got on a little rabbit hole. That's what happens when you get in these conversations.
It does. Okay, I got it. Everything happens for a reason, because that was the original business plan, just to get me on the map, because there was a large profit. I was never wanting to be known for skateboard rings. I was very interested in clothing. I took those cut and sew classes in high school, and I was a lot more interested in clothes and art than I was in those rings. Like
the accessories.
Yeah, and they're very Etsy to me. Like, no hate to anyone else out there that hustles skateboard jewelry, but like you can go buy them for $15 on Etsy right now if you wanted to. And so it was like there was nothing special about that to me. I wasn't doing anything that no one else had done. Maybe the bangles were pretty interesting, but anyways, so it's cool that I didn't take it all that seriously, because maybe right now I would be so deep in a skateboard business that I just couldn't keep up with. Do you know what I mean?
This seemed more like a stepping stone, the rings and stuff, to just attach that Gary name to something to kind of form it into that brand that you wanted. Did you at this point you didn't have the the logo or anything, or is he a mascot or a logo? What do you want to consider?
It's a logo. I mean, he could be a mascot too. He's got a personality.
But he's everything, man. He's Gary.
He's Gary.
Or is he Gary, or are we calling him Vicious Gary?
He's just Gary, but his little spunk to him, he's a little bit vicious.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So how did you come up with that?
Okay, so after, I guess we could just say it fell off. I'll just call myself out. It kind of fell off a little bit because I lost some passion to it. It did become just a thing to pay the bills, and I was getting really frustrated with the idea that I don't want to make rings forever. I don't want to be known. This page is just known for jewelry, and that's not what I want. So I took some time off from it and then came back with a little bit of a rebranding, which was I dropped Gary Ware and it just became Vicious Gary. And the Vicious comes from, my dad called me that my whole entire life, from Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols. That was my nickname. Still to this day, if he were to walk in right now, he'd be like, "Hey, Vicious." So kept Gary because that was cool, and Vicious Gary. And then at that point, it was like a name with a describing word. It was a personality. He was a character at that point that I could do a lot more with.
Yeah.
There was a lot more inspiration and ideas to come from, like if we're going to expand into clothing or poster prints or screen printing art, whatever it may be, we've got a whole little character concept to build around now.
Because up until that point, you just had the name and then the skateboarding rings and stuff like that, obviously.
It was just Gary Ware, this thing that is jewelry that you wear. Like, that was what it was. Yeah.
Now you have, with the mascot, you have the brand, you know.
It's a thing.
And you can put that on different things. You can make that into a sticker, anything.
Yeah, there are.
I'm going to have to get a sticker, honestly.
I'll give you a sticker. You can have a sticker. I'll give you a sticker.
Bet. That's dope. So how did you come up with the Gary, though, itself, like the shape and everything of it? Because you already told me the story, but the people should hear the story because it's kind of dope.
It's ridiculous. Right after the Vicious Gary name kind of got adopted, my brother and I went to Idaho Falls for his best friend's wedding, and we were I don't know if we were on the way there, on the way back on the plane ride, but you know how when you like look up at a real bright light and then you close your eyes, you can see like just like the leftover light streaks will be, you can see them in your eyelids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not crazy for that, other people can do that.
No, that's a thing.
It's a thing. I don't know if I caught the light on the window of the plane weird or what, but I remember seeing this like Pac-Man looking ass like thing in my eyes. I swear to God. And I was like, yo, okay, wait a minute. All right. So I got out my phone and I opened up Snapchat and I took the doodle feature on Snapchat and colored the whole entire, like I took a picture of probably like my leg, so it was like blacked out, colored it in, made it all black, and then took white and with my finger and did my best to draw what I saw in my eyes.
Like what?
And so I'd stayed in there, and when I got home, I brought that up and then got out my sketchbook and redrew him until I kind of, tweaked him a little bit, gave him more of a personality. I wish I had like a sticker or something, for example, but it's
we can flash a picture up on the screen for the video if you're watching.
I'll even send you the original. I still have the original Snapchat drawing.
No way.
Yeah.
That's dope. I have to get that framed or something one day.
I should.
Put it in the shop.
Yeah. So I perfected him and got him to the point where I wanted him, and then that was it. He was a character now.
Now it's like, now it's a brand.
Yeah.
Vicious Gary is a brand. So were you still, wait, let me back up a little bit. So did the pandemic have any effect on the brand at that time when you were doing drops? Because Outer Banks was around that time too, right?
Yep. So when I could keep up with it and when I focused on it, it actually did fine because people really adapted to the small business supporting during that time. And I think I even did like a a small business support like pandemic drop where I did everything on my website was super cheap, like rings $10.
Oh, dope.
So it did really well. Whatever. But then, so when everything was closed, when everyone was like trying to navigate COVID, the bars in Greenville were not closed. Hope I don't get in trouble for saying that, but we would still, I mean, it was just a reckless town. We still would go out.
Man, I went out. Everyone went out.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So don't come for me for this, because we were just fucking kids navigating our first pandemic. But so I did a drop during the pandemic, 2 drop, probably several, but second drop probably I did during the pandemic. I let my friends at the time wear all the rings out to the bar, and we got a couple drinks in us, and I took a bunch of pictures of us like with our rings like out at the bar, and didn't think anything of it. The next morning I checked my phone, and I pissed off a lot of people. Yeah, they called me, I lost a lot of followers too, which in retrospect, I'm cool with that, because it probably weeded out the people that were there for the rings, and whoever stuck around just cared about the thing that I was doing. So it's totally fine. But I young and dumb. I didn't think anything of it. But the people were pissed I wasn't social distancing, and they were like, how are you going to build a brand around somebody that's not concerned about health concerns? And I totally get it, but we were in college. I don't know. So it
is what it is, man.
That was like
no one knew what the pandemic was until it was the pandemic, and then it was like, all of a sudden, how serious do we take it?
It's not like every,
Yeah, we don't go through this regularly. Man, so, it is what it is.
So that was like a little bump in the road too, because I mean, as much as I want to say I don't care, like it wasn't fun to get a bunch of backlash from people like, you're irresponsible as fuck. Like, it was irresponsible, but we were just having fun, and I was really excited about the rings and whatever. But
was that kind of the first little bit of backlash you had?
Yeah, totally. I was very much so a well-behaved well-behaved brand owner up until then.
No controversies until that.
No, yeah.
It's all good though, man. Like you said, it was the first pandemic. No one, and hopefully the only last, because that shit
Christ,
sucked.
Yeah, please no more.
No, yeah, you can't blame someone for wanting to get out and about after being in the house for months. But dang, so you got that shout out from Madison. You had this little bit of backlash because of, the social distancing and everything, but you had also created this mascot, Gary, and you also are starting to create it into more of a brand. Were you shifting over to clothes? Because you said you didn't want to stay a skateboard ring company. You wanted to make it a brand. So were you shifting your ideas to make different products now?
Yep. Somewhere, my timeline is foggy, but somewhere during that, I came home during COVID and had gotten my first little sparked interest in screen printing, and I went to Hobby Lobby and bought like a $15 shitty little like blank screen and some speedball ink, which for those that don't know is just like your real generic, universal whatever. And so I'm getting technical, but so you usually use like Illustrator, something like Adobe Illustrator, to print like jet black image, and then it'll burn on a clear piece of transparency paper, and that's what you use to expose your screen. It'll burn the part that was on the transparency paper. The artwork will fall out of the screen like a puzzle piece almost, and that's what you're left with to do it. So I took a Sharpie, because I was like, okay, I took a Sharpie and just drew like a bubble letter Vicious Gary on that transparency paper and successfully burnt that screen. And I made a couple beanies and a couple of t-shirts and a couple of tote bags, just like a bunch of shit that I bought from like Hobby Lobby.
Were you intending on selling these initially, or were they just trial?
I guess I was probably just waiting to see how fucked up they turned out. But I remember being really excited when I figured it out for the first time, because that was the interest, that was all of that build up just for that. Like, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Because now it's a brand, and you're turning it into a brand too by putting this Gary on everything.
Yeah, it's in a little bit of an awkward phase right now, because I'm further exploring kind of what I want it to be. But anyways, it was like a couple beanies, a couple t-shirts, and a couple tote bags, and I think I did sell some of them on the website, and then the rest I just gave to my friends. I was hanging out with this cool little group of girls in Greenville at the time, and they were sweet to me about it, and they would wear it and whatever. So that was very encouraging, and Yeah, so it wasn't up until I really got out of college though that I started to actually like fucking dig my claws into the ground with this and like learn what I needed to know to be able to do this, because before I was so distracted by college, and there's a lot going on in Greenville, and it was like I was not the mental disciplined person yet to be able to do all of that at once. So
do you so when you got into the screen printing, do you feel like, because that's what you do now, do you feel like that was another little light bulb moment that you were like, bing bong,
yeah.
This could be something?
Yep. So when I did the first beanies and tote bags or whatever, I was like, I didn't know what it was about it. It's not a crazy process. It's the ink on the screen, and you have a squeegee, and you pull it, and then boom, your image is there. And I don't know what it was about it, but I was like, I'm into this. And so fast forward just a little bit, once I graduated and moved back home to save money and get back on my feet, I was like, well, I'm gonna have to make money. I can't just be a bum. Now I have this college degree, and I was like, do I go get what we would call a big girl job? Like, do I go wait tables again? And I was like, there's gotta be a screen printing shop where they do this full time as a service that I could go either intern at or like whatever. And I did some research. I found one. My dad kind of happened to know the guy, not much, just enough to have his contact number, and I hit him up, and they were like, yeah, come in and talk to us. And I walked in there, and I was like, I don't know much about it, but I know it's interests me a lot, and I can do this. Just take a chance on me. Let me do it. And they were like, okay. They were just like, okay. And been there a year now.
Did you kind of put Gary on pause when you like graduated and you did you said you did some tote bags and stuff? Did you end up selling those?
Yeah, probably some to the public, and the rest I probably just gave to my friends, and there's probably some up in my room.
And then at that point was when you were back here?
Yes.
And what's that spot you work at now?
It's called Stitch FX.
Shout out Stitch FX. It's in Greensboro?
Yeah. We'll
put some links to them as well in the description. So now you're back and you're working in this shop and you have Gary kind of on hold. Were you planning on coming back to Gary, or now you're putting all your focus and energy into screen printing and working for this company you just got hired with?
Both. So my biggest life challenge I've had so far is trying to find balance and stuff. I'm like usually all into one thing at one time, and it just doesn't have to be that way. There's a way to balance and juggle your different interests and your careers and your hobbies and whatever. So the goal was like, let's do this work full time, and then now you have this access to this press, which is the professional way that you screen print, not just on the floor. But now you have this access to this equipment, and the sky's the limit now. Whatever with clothing, like if these people trust you and you work for them full time and they're willing to let you use their stuff to bring whatever idea to life, then fucking game on. So it was just finding, honestly, not even really the balance. It was the motivation and the inner self-discipline. Like, this is what I want to do, just fucking do it. There was like, so I would come home and I'd be tired and I would do nothing with it. And so it took me a while before I was able to give Gary the attention that I wanted to give it. And it hasn't been until recently really where I've been able to do that.
Yeah, I've seen you post a little bit more about it recently than you did before, like a few months ago. But so what kind of, were you doing similar work that you were doing on Gary at this new spot that you were working as far as the screen printing goes, or was it completely different?
Completely different. So it's a corporate promotions company. It's just a very cute family business in Greensboro, and I'm the only one that screen prints there. So it's like my own little corner of the world where I got all my equipment and stuff. It's a lot of the clients are like corporate clients, like your heating and cooling and your landscaping, and we do some colleges and they're in coffee shops. There's definitely some fun art that comes through there, but a lot of the times it's a lot of like, I always joke to my dad, I'm the blue collar screen printer. Like it's like a lot of blue, like construction and stuff, like company t-shirts, but which is still cool. I still get to do the thing that I love to do. It's taught me so much about it that I couldn't imagine knowing now. But yeah, it's not it's not artsy fartsy artwork.
So you're the only screen printer there. Do they just bring you like an order, like on a piece of paper, like on a tablet or something, and they're like, all right, this needs to be done by this time.
Yeah.
It's this amount of T-shirts or hoodies or whatever the case is. Do you mainly do T-shirts or what?
T-shirts, mainly T-shirts, hoodies, tote bags, some sweatshorts, but mostly T-shirts and sweatshirts.
They already have like the sweatshirts and stuff, like
Not
the
like
material there.
Not like in store, but we have like we call them wholesale accounts.
Oh,
where
okay,
you
I know
can
what you're
go
talking about.
online and buy anything
And
of
like
any
bulk.
quantity you want. Yeah, so a client calls and they're like, "Hey, I'm my landscaping company needs 50 green Gildan 5000 T-shirts, and we need a white left chest logo and a full back logo." And they send us the art, and we have a graphic designer that gets it into the format that I need to be able to print it. I burn the screen, and then I print them all, make them look nice, fold them all up, and either ship them or put them on the shelf for pickup.
So when we see those TikToks of you, I don't even know if you do any that are like sped up or like a time lapse, like it's like Santa's workshop, but you should if you haven't. So anytime you see her on TikTok or anything, she's probably on her like 500th T-shirt of like a landscaping company or something.
Yes.
What's the biggest project you've done so far for the company you work for now?
Like quantity?
Yeah.
So probably 300 or 400.
And how many, or how long did that take you?
It depends on the artwork and how many colors, because you can, lay down multiple colors and do different things. If it's just a one color or something and a small little logo, I mean, you just load the shirt on, pull it, dry, or done. Like, it's 301 colors, if I am not fucking off, should probably only take one full work day, maybe 1.5 if I'm not fucking off and checking my phone and making TikToks and trying to brand myself.
Hey, you got to take your time though.
Yeah. But it's all the prep work that is the extensive part of that process.
Is it actually like, I mean, I see the videos, but are you actually like sore or anything from like the like, you get like, does your traps get sore or anything? Calluses?
What is this?
Your arm? I don't know.
No, what is that muscle? This muscle.
It's the arm muscle. I didn't graduate, man. I dropped out of college.
Okay, well, whatever that is, only when I'm pulling white ink, and for whatever reason, white ink without being reduced, because you can put this stuff in it called a reducer that makes the consistency thinner. White ink, out of all other colors for some reason, is like pulling toothpaste. It's so thick. So if I have to do a lot of giant pieces that are white, I'll get like little calluses or blisters on my fingers, and I'll be a little sore, but it's like I'm kind of being dramatic. It's really not that big of a deal. But after a while, it's like it is a lot of repetition, and I'll definitely know that I worked with white ink after the end of the day when I do that. But other than that, no, it's not a muscular needed job, really, no.
Do you have to be in like a certain mind frame when you go into work, like in a creative mindset, or like do you have a certain music that you're listening to, or podcast or whatever, like maybe Podheads?
I crush Joe Rogan all day long when
Dope.
I'm printing.
I like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I just watched the one this week with Rick Rubin. It's a cool dude.
Oh, that is a cool dude. I'll have to watch that. I haven't seen that one.
I just bought his book actually too. It's called The Creative Act. So I'm gonna read that. But anyways, music, a lot of podcasts. It's just about like triggering yourself into the let's get like
this work done type thing.
Yeah. But my coworkers probably wouldn't tell you that. They would probably say she gets her work done, but she does a fair amount of scrolling on her phone.
I mean, don't we all though? Just try not to get caught, I guess. But it is what it is, man. It's hard to not look at your phone. We good on time right now? No? All right, we're gonna take another quick break and then we'll come back and wrap it up. All right, once again, we took a small break, had to reload batteries and all that good stuff. So now that you do have all this screen printing knowledge and experience and stuff like that, are you going to take it back to Gary, or is Gary going to go anywhere now, or are you just putting it on pause still?
No, I would like for it to, all of it to go back into Gary. So Gary is on pause,
well, like you said, you just got back into it. Not that it's like completely on pause, but
no, it's it's just been it's like been a lot of transition, because it's like, not to be corny, but it's been like a lot of like self-discovery, like what am I actually into? Because like with the rings, it was like they were cool at first when you were 19 and you wanted to have a bunch of wood on your fingers.
That's a funny way to put it. I don't know if I would.
Okay.
Don't market it that way. Terrible marketing strategy. Put all this wood on your fingers. That's essentially, you know what it is.
Yeah, okay. But it's been me trying to figure out not to sell something just because it sells, but selling something because I give a shit about it and it's cool to me and it matters to me. And then it's at that point just trusting that it will find the other people, that it also resonates with them and it's cool to them too. I recently, it's on the website right now, I recently just printed my first 8-color poster. It's a rip off of this old rock band called Ugly Kid Joe. Me and my dad used to listen to them a lot when I was younger. It's like this cool little dude. He's got his middle finger up and he's, what is that noise? Anyways, he's holding a squeegee in his hand, and I like ripped the album cover, but like, you know, changed it all up to like relate to Gary. But I didn't do that at work. I did that here. Mm-hmm. And that's not something, I mean, with my dad's help maybe, but that's not something that I probably would have ever done had I built the foundation of the last year at the print shop. So it's definitely already helping, and it's giving me a lot more confidence of like, this is a thing that you know how to do, like whatever it may be now, like if you like it and it means something to you, like you should put it out there. Yeah. And I mean, for so long I'm trying to get better about it, but I mean, there is artwork, there's screen printed, because like you can screen print on anything. It doesn't have to be just clothes. Screen printing on canvas for like art pieces, screen printing on clothes, actual art I've done, posters. There's so much stuff that I have done that no one's ever seen. I mean, maybe like friends or dad or whatever, but I'm just like, this is just dumb. It's like a little bit of imposter syndrome. I'm like, this is just dumb. Like, this isn't cool. Nobody wants this. And so I'm trying to get better about that. So I don't know what Gary will end up being, but if I could have it anyway, it would be, I want to be known for screen printing, that this person, this girl, she screen prints and she's good at it, and she might work at this print shop, or this print shop might hire her to come do this startup or whatever. But you can also go to Gary, this website, and you can buy her personal art that she screen prints, whether it's posters, t-shirts, whatever. And so that's kind of what I've been transitioning into, because that poster, it's a rip from an album cover, but it's my art. I redrew it. I printed it myself. And so it's not just like, it is a brand, but it's like, it's essentially merch of myself.
Yeah.
Like this girl, she does this thing, but if you care about what she does, then you go here and you can buy her personal art that's printed. Yeah.
Do you think that you're going to put more into like still doing clothes and stuff as well for Gary?
I think so. But see, I don't know, because it's like, there's a clothing line has been done a million times.
Yeah.
It's been, everyone, I mean, I'm not hating on it because it's a hustle and it pays a lot of people's bills, and there's a lot of people that are so good at it, but they're a dime a dozen. I mean, everyone's got a clothing brand, and everyone's trying to do that, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm more so like trying to dive into the discovery part of
what can it be? I can do this thing, screen printing. I'm half-assed good at it. What can come from that that's different than what's already out there? Like, I've been dabbling in screen printing art, like, like burning the screens, but then screen printing it onto different mediums like canvas or whatever, and then like seeing what comes from that. Or like, I mean, you can screen print on windows. I mean, you can screen print on anything. And so it's like, what can it be that's like a piece of me that somebody else would care about, that's not, you know what I'm saying? Gary could be a comic or something one day. You never know,
be whatever.
man.
And then that's what I'm saying. I have the guy, the Vicious Gary. He's got a personality. He's like this, like, he almost is like,
whatever you want him to be.
He's almost sweet, but he's like pissed off. Like, he's like a whole, like, he's got and you can make him, I mean, there's so much you can do with that. I could make him happy one day. I could make him sad. He can have friends. He can go out to eat. Like, I know that sounds silly, but from like a branding perspective, like, there's like a lot to be done with it. So it's
That's
like
what attaches people to it, though, is making it more personable and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so will I probably print sweatshirts and beanies and stuff? Absolutely. But I don't know if clothing
It's not
by itself will be what I always do. It's going to be a lot of other stuff, I'm sure.
And since it is Vicious Gary now, did you end up taking the wear out of it? So it's not Vicious Gary wear, it's just Vicious Gary?
It's just Vicious Gary.
All right, so you do posters and everything like that, you said?
Yeah, I've just started doing posters, and I love it because it's like, it's just cool because it's like, it's screen printing and it's like whatever, but you can throw it up on your wall. It can go in people's offices. I have my own posters all in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just cool. It's like, and the poster screen printing is its own thing in itself. And like a lot of poster screen printers that are still around are like just like a lot of old like grungy dudes that are still doing it in their garage that are printing posters and stuff. So like there's a cool vibe to poster printing for sure.
Gotcha. I don't know how many people know yet, or if you've told anybody, but New York, that's coming up.
Yep.
You still planning on doing screen printing when you move up there?
Yep. So beginning of April, I'll be out. I'll be a Brooklyn resident.
Go ahead and cry a little bit.
I'm very excited.
No, that's dope. We're excited for you.
Yeah, New York's expensive, so I'll probably end up getting other jobs. But right now I have a connection at a print shop lined up. I don't know what's going to come from it, if it'll just be like part-time help or just if they're just going to allow me to use their space to create, because they kind of seem that's kind of their vibe. I mean, there's a lot of creatives in Brooklyn. And one of the guys that I'm going to live with, he screen prints a lot of his art. So I'm very excited to further be around more people like me.
Like collaborate and stuff.
Yeah. So Gary will definitely come to Brooklyn. Screen printing's definitely coming to Brooklyn. And I think that will be something that I've waited around for a long time for, to like Gary was born in this place. Everything I know about anything came from this place in my family, but it's like, and you've always been in the same environment. It's like, I've lost the ability to pull inspiration from where I'm at, looking at the same thing every single day. And
that's a good point.
So to be in a new atmosphere with new people that are kind of all into the same thing as me, I think it's going to be really good for me to finally not be scared to put out there what I can do. And like, you know, like I have a sketchbook full of stuff, and like that shit is hidden under my bed. Like, don't look at my sketchbook. Don't look at what I've drawn. Don't look at my ideas. Like, and how are you gonna ever accomplish anything that way? So it's like the goal there is to kind of let go of all of that, and like, this is me, this is what I do. If you like it, great. If you don't, whatever.
That's so dope, though. I mean, like you couldn't have said it better, though. Like, getting out of that. I mean, not that there's any problem with staying in the spot where you started something in a creative process, but just getting out there and getting in a different setting can just open your mind to so much more different things, like creatively, anything really, just in life. So that's so dope. When did you decide New York, and what made you decide New York?
It was, I don't know, kind of. I thought about LA for a while, but there's...
Sorry.
It's okay.
Bigfoot.
How fucking dare you? My dad grew up in New York, and not Manhattan, but upstate. Anyways, there's something cool about not needing a car and about just the atmosphere there. I mean, and there's a million other creators that do all sorts of stuff in Brooklyn and in New York, all of New York, and it's like, I've always heard this like saying from like the older generation, like a baby boomer or something, saying like, it's not about where you are, it's about what you make it. And like, yeah, I guess there's some truth to that, but it's also like, not really. I mean, you got to go where the people are. You got to go where stuff is happening. Like, the amount of opportunities and different type of people that you'll meet in a place like New York is like exponentially different from,
it's limitless, man.
Living on a farm in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And this is great in its own way too, but it's like, if I want to meet someone that's going to help me do anything, like, they're not going to just one day drive down that driveway and just show up and knock on the door and be like, hey, like, you got to go find them. You got to go where you want to go. So that's what that's about. More doors, more opportunities. Yeah. Oh, and New York maybe because I just ended up meeting a group of kids that were very similar to me, that were very supportive and very validating of my entire existence as a creator.
Yeah.
And that was kind of where they were headed, and I was, you know, curious about it too. And
that's really important to have that support cast around you too. Not that you don't get it here, but to even have people that are kind of almost in the same instance that you are in your creative process or starting whatever it is you're doing, like that can just help you too. Just all those creative minds coming together into one.
Yeah, and I've learned that it's different. Like my dad and my mom and my brother have been incredibly supportive of everything that I've done, and they've always been like, this is great, you know, I don't know why you're hiding this from the world, like this is great. My best friend Carly, same thing, this is great, I don't know why you're hiding this. But there's always like a mental blockage where, well, you're just saying that because you're my family, or you're just saying that because you've been my best friend for 10 years or whatever it may be. So to meet someone new that's not a family member,
they're not biased,
that's that's not anybody to you, and then they're still like, what you're doing is okay, it's okay that you express yourself that way, it's okay, you know what I mean? Like that's a thing that I've been searching for a very long time.
That's dope. I only feel like it's gonna benefit you and benefit Gary like tremendously, honestly. So that's so dope. I'm excited for you. Honestly.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited too.
Anything else you got going on or that we didn't touch on that you want to tell the people?
No, I don't think so. That's pretty much the tea.
We're gonna have Sydney back on, but hopefully we can get it in Brooklyn. That would be dope. Have a little Brooklyn podcast.
Yeah, pull up anytime. Interview all the roommates.
Oh, for sure. Man, this has been a good one. She's, like I said, a creative mind, an inspiration, and now she's about to be a New Yorker. So y'all can follow her. I'm gonna put all the social media links and everything to her company she works for now, Instagram, all that in the description. So y'all give Sydney a follow. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
It's been episode 6, DJ Easy Zeke with Podheads. Stay blessed, y'all. Have a good one. And that's a wrap.